What a beautiful little waterfall. Nestled right here on the corner of this property here in the woods. This old abandoned motel. Right here off of Route 52 in Virginia. Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. Hitchhiking Yeti here. I'm back. I'm back on the road. Feeling good. It's a nice, crisp, cool morning. I am so excited to be back out. I got myself a pumpkin spice latte. I actually picked this up much earlier in my drive up here. A little town called Elkin. This place right here is awesome. I've never heard of it before. I think you, what is that, Tale? Never heard of that before. Must be like a locally owned coffee shop in the Elkin area here back in North Carolina. I'm in Virginia now. But, man, this is an awesome coffee. I actually passed up a Starbucks to go try out this coffee, and it is fantastic. If you're ever in the Elkin area around exit 85, I believe, definitely give these people a try. Very, very delicious. That being said, I am on my way to Hillsville, Virginia today. We're going to do a little walk around the town of Hillsville. A lot of history up there. Unfortunately, a lot of dark history is up there because they actually have one of the largest shootouts in a courthouse, maybe in the history of America, happened right there, and they actually dubbed it the Hillsville Courthouse Massacre, I believe is what they called it. We're going to talk a little bit about that, talk about the history, the Allen family that was kind of mixed up in all that. I am not a historian about this whole story. I find it very fascinating. A friend of mine that used to work at the Curie Beach High-Tech Arcade in my neck of the woods, where I do a lot of videos and vlogs down at the coast, he told me about it. He's actually from this area about 2 years ago, and I finally made it up this way. So we're going to kind of get into that, walk around town, check out some of the historical sites, the buildings, give you a little bit of history about each one of them maybe. A lot of old stuff up there. We're going to go check it out. Should be a fun day. Thank you for joining me today and hanging out with me, man. I really do appreciate it so much. And also I want to thank everybody who took the time to leave comments, well wishes while I was on the mend from my oral surgery that I had about a week ago. It means a lot to me. And while I was on the mend, it gave me time to do a little, brainstorming, thinking about adventures and videos we can make moving forward this year. And I think I come up with some really good stuff. So, yeah, I made the best of a bad situation. It wasn't a lot of fun laying around for 4 days. It about drove me crazy. But all that being said, let's go ahead and get started with a little adventure today here in Virginia. We're going to start right here at this old abandoned motel. Don't know anything about this motel, but I thought I was driving up here on this back road 52. I stayed off the interstate just because I had a hunch I was going to find something cool. And this place is pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and begin with our adventure today. Thanks once again. I really do appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Okay, so right here off of Highway 52 on my way to Hillsville. You're pretty much between Hillsville and Mount Airy right here where I'm located. Look at this old rustic water wheel right here. And man, look at that down in there, how deep that is. All that water gushing out that pipe. I bet this was a really, really cool spot back in the day when it was open. Wish I could find some history, but I couldn't find anything about this location. I do know the acorns are falling back here on that metal roof up there. Every once in a while you'll hear a pat, 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 and you'll see an acorn falling out of the trees on that tin roof. But this place has definitely been shut down for quite some time. But this is awesome. Even up here behind it, you can see more structure. Look at those vents right there in that rock wall. And then up the hill a little bit more, there's another building up there with rooms, motel rooms. Well, I don't know anything about it. If anyone knows anything about this location, definitely put in the comment section down below. Just a little mountain motel cottage like place. It's really cool. And it's got this big old epic water wheel right out front. All right, that's going to pretty much wrap it up here at the old mountain motel. So now let's get back on the road and make our way up the mountain toward Hillsville. All right, I have made my way up the road a little bit further, a little bit closer to Hillsville. Not quite there yet, but I wanted to stop right here and show you the Allen house, which is located right here behind me. And the Allen name, the family name of Allen, is very prominent here in the area. Was back then also. They were very much wrapped up in the politics of the town and the businesses and things like that. They were very well off. And Sidney Allen and his wife Betty actually built this home, or designed this home. They actually had other people to build it, but they designed the home. Sidney and Betty decided on the design together. Sidney handled the external design, and the interior was more Betty's domain. Local craftsmen helped build it, especially Preston Dickens and Reed Hall, with the carpentry and woodwork contributions by many others. So I made my way over here to the opposite side of the house. It's kind of sad that Sidney and his wife Betty only got to live here roughly about a year after they built the home. Before the massacre happened, he got sentenced to his 14 years in prison, or serving his 14 years. He got sentenced actually for 35. But after his conviction, the house was seized by the state due to wrongful death lawsuits filed by the families of those that were killed in the massacre. All right, I made my way to the very front of the house. One last shot of it. Love the spires on the home. The design is awesome. Look at this round part right here in the middle of the screen. The roof, it's got a little door where you can actually step out on the roof and actually gaze across the street at the countryside. And I wonder back then if they had an epic pumpkin patch to look at the way you do today. Look at these pumpkins out here. I mean, there are some big pumpkins in there. And it's just rows and rows along that field of pumpkins. Man, just think of all the things that's going to be made with that. All the pumpkin carving for Halloween here in 2025. And you know, there's some people out there that might make a pumpkin pie or two. All right, I guess that about do it for this area. So let's saddle on up and move on up into Hillsville now. Go check out the old town of Hillsville. And we're definitely going to go by the old Carroll County Courthouse location, because supposedly the gunshots or the bullet holes are still visible to this day from the shootout that happened with the Allen clan. Let's go see it for ourselves, shall we? Okay, welcome to downtown Hillsville, Virginia. And right out of the gate, look at this old signage right here on the side of this building. It says Surratt's Jewelry and Gifts. This old retro sign right here. Look at this old light fixture. This is probably dating back quite a ways. Old jewelry store right here on the main boulevard, main thoroughfare here in town. And it looks like at one time it says Shop Local Hillsville. Maybe they did some musical instruments in here. Lastly, maybe the jewelry store is from way back, because right there is some kind of an organ or piano. But it's definitely a little bit rough for wear on the inside of this building, that's for sure. Looks like it's been closed down quite some time. Okay, and right across the street right here is a place called the Hillmont Mercantile. And man, they are really jamming over there with some old 1950s music. I have heard some Elvis Presley, all kinds of music from that era. And I guess back in the day, before it was a mercantile, at some point in time, it looks like it used to be a hotel, because they still have an old hotel sign up there on the very top next to the roof. It's a black sign that says hotel. And right here, directly in front of the Hillmont Mercantile, got some Johnny Cash playing over there right now, is this place. Look at this relic, the Hillsville Diner. How cool is this? The old Coke signs. Look at that one down there. That's a really good Coke sign. I like that one. Nice and faded. Looks very original. I bet this is a hopping little place. And right up here, instead of another Coke sign hanging from that old rusty pole up there, it just says Hillsville Diner, and it's a Dr. Pepper sign. You don't see that every day. Most of the time when you go to old towns and you see retro signage like that, it's always normally either Pepsi or Coke. But today, Dr. Pepper's flying the colors. I kind of like that, man. That's different. Gotta say, I love these old southern buildings. These storefronts right here, I like that one. Like, it's just so plain. It just says restaurant. And then right next to it says the 508 North Brews and Company, located right there. And right here beside of me, we have this informational placard about Hillsville. This place became the county seat when Carroll County was formed. The first court was held here in 1842. A.W.C. Nolan was the first judge. The courthouse, built in 1872, was remodeled some years ago. The town was incorporated in 1900 and rechartered in 1940. And you can find this little informational plaque right out in front of this building, which is the old Carroll County Courthouse. And this is where the massacre actually took place. Right here on the front steps of this building. This is where it all went down. So let's walk up there, talk about a little bit, see if we can hunt down these old shrapnel bullet holes. So the story that I'm about to share with you is known as the Hillsville Massacre, also called the Courthouse Tragedy. Happened on March 14, 1912 in Hillsville, Virginia, and remains one of the most infamous courtroom shootings in American history. So when you're talking about this courthouse tragedy, the background to it all starts with the central figure. That's Floyd Allen, a well-known Carroll County landowner and member of a powerful local family, the Allen clan. The Allens were part of a long-standing feud with other influential families and were deeply involved in politics here in the area. Trouble began when the two of Floyd Allen's nephews, Sidney and Wesley Edwards, were arrested after a fight and sentenced to jail. So after Sidney and Wesley Edwards were arrested, Floyd Allen was outraged, intervened, and allegedly assaulted the deputy who was transporting the boys. This led to Floyd being charged with interfering with the officer for doing his duty. Okay, so that gets us to the actual courthouse itself in the trial. So on March 14, 1912, Floyd Allen went on trial at the Carroll County Courthouse in Hillsville. He was found guilty and sentenced to 1 year in prison. As the judge read the sentence, Floyd reportedly stood and said, "Gentlemen, I ain't going." So after Floyd uttered the famous words, "Gentlemen, I ain't going," almost immediately gunfire erupted inside the packed courtroom. The exact spark is disputed to this day. Some say Floyd drew first, others claim the deputies fired first. So when the shooting stopped, 5 people lay dead here at the Carroll County Courthouse. And those people was Judge Thornton Massey, Commonwealth Attorney William M. Foster, Sheriff Lewis F. Webb, Juror Augustus Fowler, and Betty Ayers, who was just a witness. Several others, including even the court clerk and Floyd himself, were seriously wounded. And it all took place right here where these steps are that leads up. The Hillsville Courthouse tragedy was front page national news in March of 1912. Newspapers across the country were filled with stories of the Allen clan, the manhunt, the shocking courtroom killings. But less than a month later, the Titanic sank on April 15, 1912. The Titanic tragedy completely overshadowed the story of the Hillsville Massacre. It just kind of went away, got brushed away because of the Titanic tragedy. What had been one of the most sensational crime stories in America was suddenly pushed off the front page to cover the Titanic tragedy. So that's why a lot of us has probably never heard of this massacre before, is because unfortunately Titanic happened about a month later, and that was like even a bigger thing because a lot more people tragically died. So there's your little bit of info. I thought that was very interesting. Just wanted to share that with you. So now, that being said, we're going to turn around and we're going to see if we can see the old bullet holes left behind on the courthouse steps. from the big shootout here. Okay, as I stand right here in front of the formerly known as the Carroll County Courthouse here in Hillsville. It's not anymore. I actually have a new courthouse now. But this right here, they've actually turned this old courthouse into a museum. But if you want to see the bullet holes, you have to walk over here to the right-hand side. These old steps right here. Kind of hard to believe this happened over 100 years ago, and the bullet holes are still here all these years later. Got these green steps, and right here is the first bullet hole. Right there. Check that out. That is pretty awesome. That they've never replaced these steps. They want this history to live on. And there's another bullet hole right up here toward the top. And right there it is. That is crazy. All these years, over 100 years ago. And the evidence is still here on the Courthouse County steps. Formerly, you know, the old courthouse, of course. That is unbelievable. That all the tragic that happened right here in this spot. And you know, Floyd Allen, I mean, he got found guilty. He was only going to spend a year in prison. And he threw all that away. A big shootout happens. And then he ends up getting executed for 1 year. He could have done 1 year and been done and went on with his life. But, you know, people were just wired differently back then. But, yeah. There we go. That's covered. So now let's go ahead and leave this area. We're going to move around town. I got some more buildings I want to show you. One's right next door. We're going to check that out. It's an old building with a little bit of historic value to it. And let's go ahead and wrap our vlog up today once we finish looking at a few more places. I want to see the old jail too while I'm here. Okay, and we will not have to travel far at all to check out our next historic find here in town. Right next to the old Carroll County Courthouse is this place. That is epic. That is such an awesome looking home. They call this the Hale Wilkins Carter Home, also called the Carter Building or simply the Carter Home. You can find it right here on North Main Street. The original construction was built in 1845 by Fielding L. Hale. It was initially a two-story federal-style brick building and came with 16 acres of land. So if we look at the home, the bottom two floors were actually all original in 1845. These top levels up here, the third and fourth floor, was actually additions later by another owner. So in 1880, the house and the land were sold to James Wilkinson. Then in 1895, George L. Carter married Wilkinson's daughter, and this is where the modifications and the expansions happened. Around 1906, under George L. Carter, significant additions were made. They actually added the third, fourth floor, a wraparound porch, and a stucco was applied to the building. Okay, right here is another historic building here in town. This here is the old Carroll County Bank. Looks like, according to that stamp up there at the top, it was actually established in 1907. Now, I don't think this place has been a bank for quite a few years, I would imagine. But right now it's being used by a chiropractic clinic. It's a good use. Everybody needs to get their neck adjusted every now and then, right? Okay, so I made my way on the back side of the buildings here on North Main Street. And I'm not really seeing a lot of murals, but they got some really old looking murals right here on the back of this one. It says a mega church in office. Really don't know who these two people are right here. And then right next to that, we have this one. Looks like this here is the back side of an old drugstore. It's been here for many, many moons. Not a drugstore no more. I did talk to the owner of a cafe next door. Really nice gentleman. Talked to me a little bit about the area. And definitely, he told me a little bit about this brick structure right here. We'll go over there and check that out. That there is the old jailhouse. All right, welcome to the old jailhouse. Pretty self-explanatory, right? This place is awesome looking. I mean, Look at the vines growing up on the side. It's got that age to it. That looks pretty creepy. And he said a little over a decade ago, they actually used this place as a haunted house, probably about 15 years ago. He said in the last 10 years, he knows for sure they've not used it for anything because it has some plumbing issues. And it's a really nice building. They actually, I think the people who bought this building, this big brick building, they only paid about $70,000 for it. I know what you're thinking. Think what I'm thinking. What a deal. A big brick building like this, 70 grand, like an old jail. That is really cool, but it has a downside to it. It's very expensive to fix. And it's got a plumbing issue, and it's got an even bigger issue. It's got a lot of asbestos on the inside. And he's a business owner himself here locally, and he was telling me, he said, man, there'd probably be well over 100 grand just to get all the asbestos gutted out of this structure. So as of right now, they don't really have no plans to do anything much with the old jail here in downtown Hillsville. So that's just how it goes sometime. All right, the video is winding down here in Hillsville, and I wanted to go inside of this storefront right here. This is called the Uptown Cafe, and the nice gentleman that I spoke to earlier about the old jail gave me a little bit of insight about the town. He is actually a business owner for this location. I actually went inside, and his daughter made me a nice latte for the road, nice and hot. And I gotta say, it is very, very good. Oh man, that is delicious. If you're in Hillsville, Uptown Cafe, definitely go in there and grab you a coffee, a latte. Got a lot of good drinks in there. Really nice family-owned business. Definitely go try that out. That is so good. Uptown Cafe. You can't go wrong. Really nice folk in there. So, all that being said, my friends, that's going to pretty much do it for me today. I'm going to wrap it up here in Hillsville. Hope you enjoyed today's vlog. Some of the history about the Allen family and all the ruckus and chaos that went on right here in this old courthouse right here behind me. Got to look at some old historic buildings. Learn a little bit about the community. I do know this. They do have cruise-ins up here. And matter of fact, tonight, a nice gentleman that owns the cafe over there told me that, you know, he was asking me, he's like, you gonna hang around town a little bit longer? And I said, no, I actually got to get back down the road. He said, that's unfortunate because we have a classic car cruising going on tonight. And I said, yeah, that's so cool, because wasn't too many years ago, I actually covered a cruise in Pilot Mountain, North Carolina, which is not too far from here. Really is not. Maybe a 30-minute drive, give or take. So really not a bad drive down 52 to make it down to like Pilot Mountain, Mount Airy, down in that area. So really awesome. I enjoyed everything. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It's good to be back on the road. I enjoyed myself. Until next time, friends, I am the hitchhiking Yeti. And I will see you in my next adventure. Cheers. Hope y'all have a good day. Stay safe. And I hope to see you all again soon. Man, that's tasty.